Okay, hello, hi, welcome to Diary of a Wimpy Kid. We're going to be doing this for many sessions, and every session we're going to try to do about 10 pages of Wimpy Kid. So the way that we will do it is every time we will read a page, and while reading, I will stop and focus on some words that might be a bit more difficult. And you'll see them up on the screen. Okay, so let's start at page 1. Here we go. September, Tuesday. First of all, let me get something straight. This is a journal, not a diary. I know what it says on the cover, but when Mom went out to buy this thing, I specifically told her to get one that didn't say diary on it. Great. All I need is for some jerk to catch me carrying this book around and get the wrong idea. Sissy, punch. The other thing I want to clear up right away is that this was Mom's idea, not mine. But if she thinks I'm going to write down my feelings in here or whatever, she's crazy. So just don't expect me to be all Dear Diary this and Dear Diary that. Okay, so we read the page. Now let's go over what we just read. So first of all, right, means to start with, to begin with, let me get something straight. And of course that means let me make sure you understand. Okay, now let's go over the whole page. And we will review what we just read. Okay, so it says, first of all, let me get something straight. If you get something straight, it means you want to make sure people understand you. People understand you 100%, so you get something straight. So he wants you to understand this is a journal, not a diary, right? And he says that because usually we think diaries are for girls, but he's a boy. So he says it's a journal, because journal is more for boys. I know what it says on the cover, but when Mom went out to buy this thing, I specifically told her to get one that didn't say diary on it, right? So, first of all, he says, I know what it says on the cover. Now, if you look here, this is the cover of the book, right? The front part of a book is called the cover. So he says, I know what it says on the cover, because on the cover it says diary, right? But he says, no, no, no. This is a journal, not a diary. So he says, I know it doesn't say diary on the cover. And he says, great. All I need is for some jerk. And the word jerk means an unpleasant person, not a good person. All right, so that's what jerk means. So I know what it says on the I know that some jerk is going to catch me carrying the book. So some jerk is going to see him holding the book and get the wrong idea, have the wrong impression. Somebody's going to see him with the book, and on the cover it says diary. So somebody's going to think, oh, he's like a girl, he's not a boy, he's a sissy, right? And that's what a sissy is. Sissy is a person who acts like a girl, right? So somebody big will see him and think, oh, he's being like a girl, and then they'll punch him. The other thing I want to clear up right away, and of course clear up means, again, make sure someone understands, right? You want to make sure somebody understands 100%. The other thing I want to clear up right away is that this was Mom's idea, right? It was Mom's idea to write in a book, not mine. So he's saying it wasn't my idea, it was Mom's idea. But if she thinks I'm going to write down my feelings in here or whatever, she's crazy. So he thinks, oh, I'm not going to write my feelings down. Mom thinks I will, but I won't, right? She's crazy. And then he says, so just don't expect me to be all, Dear Diary this, Dear Diary that. Which really just means don't expect me to always be writing in my diary, right? If you say A this, A that, right? Don't expect me to be all Korea this, Korea that. It means I can't stop talking about it. I always talk about it. So Dear Diary this, Dear Diary that means I'm always talking to my diary or I'm always writing in my diary. So he says, don't expect me to do that. So he's saying, I won't do that. All right, let's look at our next page. Okay, and we will read it all first, and then I will discuss it. The only reason I agreed to do this at all is because I figure later on, when I'm rich and famous, I'll have better things to do than answer people's stupid questions all day long. So this book is going to come in handy. Gregory, tell us about your childhood. Were you always so smart and handsome? Here's my journal. Now, shoo. Like I said, I'll be famous one day, but for now, I'm stuck in middle school with a bunch of morons. Morons. Okay, so Gregory says the only reason I agreed to do this at all, so the only reason I agreed to do this at all, which means for some reason, is because I figure later on, and if you figure, it means you believe or you think something. So I figure later on in life, right, when he's older, when I'm rich and famous, I'll have better things to do than answer people's stupid questions. So he says, I'll be too busy to answer people's questions all day long. So this book, this diary, is going to come in handy. And handy means to be useful, to be helpful, right? This book is going to be helpful, okay? So Gregory, tell us about your childhood. Were you always so smart and handsome like me? Here's my journal. Now shoo. Shoo just means go, leave, get out of here. Go. Get out of here. Right? Leave me alone. Go. Bye. Like I said, I'll be famous one day, but for now I'm stuck in middle school with a bunch of morons. Morons are just fools, idiots, dumb people. Right? That's what a moron is. Somebody who's not very smart. Okay, let's go to our next page. Let me just say, for the record, that I think middle school is the dumbest idea ever invented. You got kids like me who haven't hit their growth spurt yet, mixed in with these gorillas who need to shave twice a day. Out of my way, runts. And then they wonder why bullying is such a big problem in middle school. If it was up to me, grade levels would be based on height, not age. But then again, I guess that would mean kids like Chiragupta would still be in first grade. Okay, let's look at what we just read. So he says, let me just say, right? So let me tell you, for the record. Now, for the record means officially. It's my official statement. It's my official comment. So let me tell you, for the record, I think middle school is the dumbest idea invented. So he thinks middle school is a really dumb idea, really not a good idea. You get kids like me who haven't hit their growth spurt yet, and a spurt means quick or fast. So, children, when they're small, sometimes when they become 11 or 12 or 13, all of a sudden they really start to grow. We call that in English, that's a growth spurt, because it means they grow very quickly. So you have children like him who haven't hit in that situation means started. So they haven't started their growth spurt, yet mixed in with these gorillas, like big children, big hairy children, who need to shave twice a day. And then you see the bully in the picture says, out of my way, runts, right? And runts are just things that are smaller than average, right? Like if a mother cat has 5 kittens, maybe one is really small. That would be the runt. So it's the smaller than average. So a smaller than average person, a smaller than average animal, or just something that's smaller than average. Okay, and then they wonder why bullying is such a big problem in middle school, right? Because they mix in big children with small children, and they wonder why bullying is a big problem. If it was up to me, if it was my decision, grade levels would be based on height, not age, right? So grade levels would go by height, not by the age, but how tall they are. But then again, I guess that would mean kids like Chirag Gupta would still be in first grade. So that little child, his name is Chirag Gupta, and because he's so small, he would still be in first grade. Because if they made middle school on height, on how tall, Chirag Gupta would be first grade because he's so small. All right, let's go to the next page. Today is the first day of school, and right now we're just waiting around for the teacher to hurry up and finish the seating chart. So I figured I might as well write in the book to pass the time. By the way, let me give you some good advice. On the first day of school, you got to be real careful where you sit. You walk into the classroom and just plunk your stuff down on any old desk, and the next thing you know, the teacher is saying, I hope you all like where you're sitting because these are your seats, these are your permanent seats. He's like, ah! So, in this class, I got stuck with Chris Hosey in front of me and Lionel James in the back of me. Okay, let's review this page. So, today is the first day of school, right? It's the first day. And right now, we're just waiting around, we're just waiting for the teacher to hurry up and finish the seating chart. Seating chart is kind of like a map of where everybody is sitting. So I figured I might as well, or I should, write in this book to pass the time, to spend the time. Okay, so next paragraph. By the way, let me give you some good advice, right? Let me give you a tip. On the first day of school, you got to be real careful where you sit, right? You have to be careful. You walk into the classroom and just plunk your stuff down on any old desk, and plunk means to hit or throw something down. Like, so I have books and I just, boom, put them down. So if you just put them down on any old desk, which means any desk, not specific and not a special desk, right? If you just put them down on any old desk or any general desk, the next thing you know, the teacher says, I hope you like where you're sitting because these are your permanent seats, right? I hope you all like where you're sitting because these are your permanent seats. And permanent means forever, not changing, forever. And then Gregory's like, gah, which is just a sound you make when you're not happy. So in this class, I got stuck with Chris Murphy in front of me and Lionel James in the back of me. And of course, stuck means not able to move from a place, right? You can't move. I'm here, I can't move. Okay, I'm stuck. All right, let's go to the next. Jason Brill came in late and almost sat to my right, but luckily I stopped that from happening at the last second. Is this seat taken? Yes, yes. Next period, I should just sit in the middle of a bunch of hot girls as soon as I step in the room. But I guess if I do that, it just proves I didn't learn anything from last year. Greg, will you pass this note to Shelley? Why, certainly. Greg is a dork. All right, now let's look at these words. Jason Brill came in late, right? He came to class late and almost sat to my right. So he sat to my right. I stopped that from happening at the last second, right? And that means with very little time left. Is this seat taken? Yes, yes. Next period, next class, I should just sit in the middle of a bunch of hot girls, right? Bunch means many of something, a lot of something. So he sat in the middle of a lot of hot girls or a bunch of hot girls. As soon as I step in the room, as soon as he went into the room. But I guess if I do that, it just proves I didn't learn anything from last year. So last year, he sat with a bunch of hot girls, and it probably did not work well. So she says, Greg, will you pass this note to Shelley? Why, certainly, right? Why, for sure. I think Greg is a dork. Dork is somebody who's not cool, not a cool person. So last year, Gregory sat with a bunch of girls, and they thought he was not cool. So they gave each other notes saying, oh, Gregory's not cool. All right. Next page. Ooh, a lot of writing. Man, I don't know what is up with girls these days. It used to be a whole lot simpler back in elementary school. The deal was, if you were the fastest runner in your class, you got all the girls. And in 5th grade, the fastest runner was Ronnie McCoy. Nowadays, it's a whole lot more complicated. Now it's about the kind of clothes you wear, or how rich you are, or if you have a cute butt, or whatever. And the kids, like Ronnie McCoy, are scratching their heads, wondering what happened. The most popular boy in my grade is Bryce Anderson. The thing that really stinks is that I have always been into girls, but kids like Bryce have only come around in the last couple of years. Okay, now let's look at this page. So Gregory says, man, and that's just something we say when we're a little frustrated or bothered. Man, I don't know what is up with girls. What is up with means I don't understand. Like if you want to know what is up with something, you want to know why something is happening, right? So what is up means why is this happening? So I don't know what is up with girls these days, so nowadays. It used to be a whole lot simpler back in elementary school. So elementary school was really simple. The deal was, and right, the deal means the agreement, right? The agreement, the promise. The promise was, or the deal was, if you were fast, right, the fastest runner in class, you got all the girls. All the girls liked you because you were so fast. And in 5th grade, the fastest runner was Ronnie McCoy. So Ronnie McCoy was a really fast runner. So he was very popular with the girls. Nowadays, it's a whole lot more complicated. It's more complex. It's a lot harder to understand what girls like. Now it's about the kind of clothes you wear, or how rich you are, or if you have a cute butt, which means, andani, butt. If you have a cute butt or whatever. And kids like Ronnie McCoy are scratching their heads, right? You don't understand. You're just like, what? Why is this happening? They're scratching their heads wondering what the heck happened. The most popular boy in my grade is Bryce Anderson. The thing that really stinks, and stinks means like sucks, right? Something that sucks, something that's not good. It's not enjoyable, not good. The thing that really stinks is that I have always been into girls. He's always liked girls. But kids like Bryce have only come around in the last couple of years, right? So come around means started to like or started to agree. So Bryce didn't used to like girls. But now, in the last 2 years, Bryce has started to like girls. But Gregory, the child who's writing this book, Gregory has always liked girls. So he's always been a fan of girls. Okay? This next page, here we go. I remember how Bryce used to act in elementary school. So this picture is what Bryce was like in elementary school. It says, girls are stinky poos, which means girls smell really bad. Yeah, I don't think girls are stinky poos, which of course means I don't think girls are bad. Okay, now I'm going to read the rest of the page. But of course, now I don't get any credit for sticking with the girls all this time. Like I said, Bryce is the most popular kid in our grade. So that leaves all the rest of us guys scrambling for other spots. The best I can figure is that I'm somewhere around 52nd or 53rd most popular this year. But the good news is that I'm about to move up one spot because Charlie Davies is above me and he's getting braces next week. Okay, so let's look at but of course. So, but of course, now I don't get any credit. So credit means any praise or acknowledgement. Right? The girls don't act like, oh, Gregory, you used to be so nice to us. So Gregory doesn't get any credit. Right? I don't get any credit for sticking with the girls all this time. And sticking with means like supporting. Like I said, Bryce is the most popular kid in our grade. So that leaves all the rest of us guys scrambling for other spots. Scrambling means to move quickly and do without preparation. So you don't prepare. You do something quickly. So all the other children in the school have to try to get spots on the list of popularity, right? And Gregory thinks the best I can figure, the best I can believe or understand is that I'm somewhere around 52nd or 53rd. So Bryce Anderson, number 1, most popular. And then all these other children, and then 52, 53, that's where Gregory is. So he's not very popular. But the good news is that I'm about to move up one spot. So Gregory thinks he's about to become a little more popular. Because Charlie Davies is above me, so Charlie Davies is more popular than Gregory, and he's getting braces next week. Right? These are braces. So next week, Charlie Davies is getting braces. And in elementary school or middle school, having braces is not very cool. Right? So that's why Gregory is going to move up a little bit of a spot. Because Charlie Davies is going to get braces, and so he's not going to be as cool anymore. Okay, on to this next page. First, I'll read it, and then we'll discuss it. I tried to explain all this popularity stuff to my friend Rolly, who is probably hovering right around the 150 mark, by the way. But I think it just goes in one ear and out the other with him. Wednesday. Today we had phys ed. So the first thing I did when I got outside was to sneak off to the basketball court to see if the cheese was still there, and sure enough, it was. Okay, let's look at these words. So he says, I will try to explain all the popularity stuff to my friend Rolly. So he tries to explain to his friend Rolly what makes people popular, how to be popular. And he says, who is probably hovering right around the 150 mark, which means Rolly he's above or he's around 150 most popular, right? So Gregory's at 52 or 53. Rolly is at about 150 for popularity. But I think it just goes in one ear and out the other. And that's a very popular English expression. Goes in one ear and out the other, right? It means isn't listened to. The person doesn't listen to it. They hear it and then it just goes away. Okay. Wednesday. Today we had phys ed, right? And phys ed is just gym class, right? It means physical education. It's gym class, exercise class, right? So he says, we had phys ed today, and the first thing I did when I got outside was sneak off, right? You sneak away, sneak off to the basketball court to see if the cheese was still there. And sure enough, and yes it was still there, right? So the cheese is just a piece of cheese that somebody left on the basketball court, right? It's just a piece of cheese sitting outside, getting old and dirty. Okay, next page, page 9. That piece of cheese has been sitting on the blacktop since last spring. I guess it must have dropped out of someone's sandwich or something. After a couple of days, the cheese started getting all moldy and nasty. Nobody would play basketball on the court where the cheese was, even though that was the only court where the hoop had a hoop with a net. Then one day, this kid named Darren Walsh touched the cheese with his finger. And that's what started the thing called the cheese touch. It's basically like cooties. If you get the cheese touch, you're stuck with it until you pass it on to someone else. Screamer! The only way to protect yourself from the cheese touch is to cross your fingers. Okay. So he says the piece of cheese has been sitting on the blacktop. And this is a blacktop. It's just a black surface, right? That's blacktop. So it's been sitting on the blacktop since last spring, right? Spring, boom. Since last spring. I guess it must have dropped out of someone's sandwich or something like that. After a couple of days, after some time, the cheese started getting all moldy, right? Started getting all gross. This is moldy. Ugh. All moldy and nasty. Nobody would play basketball on the court where the cheese was, even though that was the only court that had a hoop with a net. So there's the basketball hoop and there's a net. And that's the only basketball court where the hoop has a net. Then one day, this kid named Darren Walsh touched the cheese with his finger, and that's what started the thing called the cheese touch. It's basically like cooties. Now, cooties in North America, it's a pretend virus children in North America say is real, right? So usually we will say, oh, don't touch a girl, you'll get cooties. You'll get this pretend virus. And you're like, oh no, I have cooties, oh. It really just means you don't want to touch girls, or if you're a girl, you don't want to touch boys. If you get the cheese touch, you're stuck with it. So it's kind of like tag. Tag, you're it. You're like, oh no. Oh, I have the cheese touch. Someone touched me. So the only way I can get rid of it is to touch somebody else. And then scream. The only way to protect yourself from the cheese touch is to cross your fingers. So you need to cross your fingers to protect yourself. All right, next page. Page 10. But it's not that easy remembering to keep your fingers crossed every moment of the day. I ended up taping mine together so they'd stayed crossed at all times. I got a D in handwriting, but it was totally worth it. This kid named Abe Hall got the cheese touch in April, and nobody would even come near him for the rest of the year. This summer, Abe moved away to California and took the cheese touch with him. I just hope someone doesn't start the cheese touch up again, because I don't need that kind of stress in my life anymore. Thursday, I'm having a seriously hard time getting used to the fact that summer is over and I have to get out of my bed every morning to go to school. My summer didn't exactly get off to a great start thanks to my older brother Roderick. All right, let's look at this page. So he says that's not something easy, that is not easy remembering to keep your fingers crossed every moment of the day, right? Because the only way to protect yourself from the cheese touch is to keep your fingers crossed all day. But that's hard to remember to do. So Gregory says I ended up, or the result was, I ended up taping mine together so they'd stayed crossed all the time. So this is what it looks like. He had his fingers taped together and crossed. So he says, I got a D in handwriting, but it was totally worth it, right? Handwriting just means writing. So it's hard to hold a pencil if your fingers are taped. So he got a D in handwriting. This one kid named Abe Hall got the cheese touch in April, and nobody would come near him for the rest of the year. So nobody wanted to get close to Abe Hall. This summer, Abe moved away to California and took the cheese touch with him. So Abe had the cheese touch, and his family went to California. I just hope someone doesn't start the cheese touch up again, because I don't need that kind of stress in my life anymore, right? So he doesn't need to be bothered like that. He doesn't need that stress. Thursday, I'm having a seriously hard time getting used to the fact that summer is over and I have to get out of my bed every morning to go to school. So he says it's very hard to deal with having to wake up very early every day and going to school. My summer did not exactly get off to a great start, right? And get off just means begin or start. So it didn't start well. Thanks to my older brother Roderick. So his older brother did something that made the beginning of his summer not very good. All right. Okay, last page. Page 11. A couple of days into summer vacation, which means a couple of days in, Roderick woke me up in the middle of the night. He told me I slept through the whole summer, but luckily I woke up just in time for the first day of school. Ah, shoot. You might think I was pretty dumb for falling for that one, but Roderick was dressed up in his school clothes and he set my alarm clock ahead to make it look like it was the morning. Plus, he closed my curtains so I couldn't see that it was still dark out. After Roderick woke me up, I just got dressed and went downstairs to make myself some breakfast, like I do every morning on a school day. Okay, so he says a couple of days into summer vacation, so it means a couple of days after summer vacation started, Roderick woke me up in the middle of the night, so 2 a.m., 3 a.m. He told me I slept through the whole summer, that I slept all summer. But luckily I woke up just in time with enough time for the first day of school. And then he goes, shoot, which in Korean is pretty much the same as 아이고, right? Shoot. You might think I was pretty dumb for falling for that one. Falling for that means believing something that's not true. So Gregory says, you might think I'm pretty stupid because I fell for that. But Roderick was dressed up in his school clothes, so Roderick had his school clothes, and he set my alarm clock. He changed my alarm clock ahead to make it look like it was the morning. So if it was 3 a.m., he changed the alarm clock to maybe 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. Plus, he closed my curtains so that I couldn't see it was still dark out. So Gregory couldn't see out his window to see outside was still dark. It was still nighttime. After Roderick woke me up, I just got dressed, right? Got dressed, put on my clothes, went downstairs to make myself some breakfast, right? To make some breakfast, like I do every morning on a school day. So every school day, Gregory goes downstairs, makes breakfast, and then goes to school. All right, well, there we are. We're finished. We've done 11 pages. I'm Coach Jeff, and I'll see you for the next few pages.